In the winter, she curls around a good book and dreams away the cold. That beautiful quote was written by Ben Aronovich, an English author and screenwriter. And it's perfect for how it described what I was doing in the month of December, because you better believe I was parked in a nice comfy chair with a cup of hot chocolate and a really good book. Because our December was pretty frigid, especially the weekend of Christmas. Now today, not so much. It's hot and humid, hence the ponytail and my frizzy hair. But anyway, I want to talk to you today about the books that I read in December for the Christmas Evil Readathon. Hi, I'm Kat. Welcome to Kat's Novel Adventures. Before I get started, I need to give a huge shout out to the hosts of the Christmas Evil Readathon because they did a fabulous job with the community and all of the activities that went along with the readathon. They had sprints, they had virtual parties, one for Christmas Eve, one for New Year's Eve. They had a Discord set up that we could chat with one another in the community. They had watch parties in the Discord, watching some really crazy, bad horror movies. And they also gave you a list of photo prompts that you could participate in and post on Instagram or in the Discord. It was just a lot of fun. And really and truly, thank you, Kelly at Kelly Hooked on Books, Kelsi at Slime and Slashers, Katrina at Katrina Brown, Crystal over at Fiber Artsy, and Michelle at Michelle's Melancholia. You ladies did a phenomenal job, and I'm so excited that y'all are considering doing it again in the halfway mark in July and then again in December of next year. But it really was a fabulous, fabulous readathon, and I do appreciate you hosting it for us. Let's get started. Whoop, whoop. Well, actually, before we get started, I just want to share with you that I had 3 3-star reads, 1 4-star read, and 6 5-star reads. Yes, 6. I read some wonderful books and stories for this Christmas Evil Readathon. So let's get started. The first one is Witches Cops by Math Bird. This is my first book I've ever read by Math Bird, and I enjoyed it. It's kind of small. And I picked this for the Black Xmas or Black Christmas prompt. You were to read a book that had something to do with the occult or with black magic, and this was perfect. It is basically about Elizabeth Dayton. She goes by the name Dates in the underground community. She is a gun for hire who has experienced a rough patch. However, she gets called by a pretty bad guy in the community who wants her to travel to a small town and retrieve a mysterious young woman. Well, she decides to do that and visits the woods of Witches Cops, and what she encounters there is not anything that she expected. So it ends up going awry, and poor Elizabeth Dayton ends up in a bad way. I love the story, but I will say the reason I gave it 3 stars is because, 1, I wanted more backstory on these characters, especially Elizabeth. I wanted to know more about this group called the Order. I also thought some of the scenes were a bit rushed, and I feel like the ending was more like a cliffhanger. So I'm really hoping that perhaps Math Bird is planning to write a sequel so that we find out what happens next, perhaps. My other 2 3-star reads came from a collection called Christmas Evil. So it was 2 short stories by Mark Lestrange that I chose for the mood read prompt. Originally I chose The Shining, but then I found this book at the last minute and changed what I was going to read for that prompt. Anyway, both of the stories seem kind of vampiric in nature. They were enjoyable, but not the best stories I've ever read in my entire life, but enjoyable all the same, especially for this readathon. The first one was called Little Monsters, and the second one was called Dinner is Served. My one 4-star read, and the book that I used for the prompt of Read a Gifted Book, Zombies. It's beginning to look a lot like zombies. It's Zombie Christmas Carols by Michael P. Spradlin. And this book was gifted to me by my really good friend Kelsi over at Slime and Slashers, and I loved it. I loved it. In fact, we used a couple of the zombie carols to sing at the Christmas Eve virtual party, and we had a lot of fun. But the lyrics are pretty funny. I gave it 4 stars only because I felt like some of the songs, it didn't flow quite as well as the ones that we chose to sing. But overall, terrific little book. My next read is my first 5-star read I want to talk about, and it's also my nonfiction choice for the month, and it fulfilled the prompt of Krampus, read a creature feature or a story with a monster in it. Well, I chose The Krampus by Al Ridenour, and the full title is The Krampus and the Old Dark Christmas, Roots and Rebirth of the Folkloric Devil. And this was fabulous. I would warn you that if you're picking this book up thinking it's just going to strictly be about Krampus, then you might be a little disappointed. However, if you want to know a little more about the folklore in the Alpine region area in Europe, then this would be the book for you, because it goes into the Krampus, other monsters that are related to the Krampus, as well as some witches. And they also give you different traditions that are still practiced today that surrounds all of this folklore. But I really, really did enjoy it. And I saw some reviews where people who read the book kind of criticized it, saying it's almost like a textbook format. I actually kind of like the way the book is formatted, because I read this book all throughout the month of December. So it was nice to have like little, you have your chapter and then you have the little sub chapters. And so it made it really easy to pick the book up, read, you know, about 10 pages or so, and then put it down and then pick it up. So that way you didn't, you know, get overwhelmed with all of the information. But this is actually a great resource, wonderful reference book, a book that I could pick up, you know, anytime and just kind of do some research if I wanted to, or if I wanted to just kind of read up on one of the topics. But I would recommend it to anyone who is as fascinated with the Krampus as I am. My next 5-star read is a book that I actually read for a total of 4 prompts in the month of December. But for the Christmas Evil Readathon, I used it for the Sleigh Bells prompt, which was a slasher prompt or a book that had a murder in it. And I chose Crooked House by Agatha Christie, which I'm sure you're not surprised because I've talked about this book quite a bit. I loved it. I just thought it was a wonderful mystery. It had so many red herrings in it. I could not figure out who did it by the end of the book, so I was really surprised by who the killer was. And because of this book and the other book that I read in June, and then there was none, I've decided in 2023 that I'm reading more Agatha Christie. So I am having a year of Christie in 2023. But this is an excellent book. If you have not read it, I cannot recommend it enough. My next 5-star selection is actually a book that I chose to read for the Winter Wonderland. Originally, I chose it for my mood read, but I replaced my mood read with the Christmas Evil short story collection, and so I moved this book to Winter Wonderland. You're supposed to read something set in the winter, and what I chose was perfect. The Shining by Stephen King. And you couldn't get more wintry, more isolated than The Shining. This is also the last book that Kelsi and I are reading for our Year of King, and we will actually be doing a live chat about this book and the movies that we're watching, as well as the documentary Room 237, which is all about the making of The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. And we will discuss all of that on Sunday, January 15th at 2 p.m. Central Time. So if you're interested in listening to what we have to say about all of that, then I recommend that you join us for that chat. But this book is wonderful. It's the third time that I've read this story. It is spooky, it has ghosts, and it has a big character in it, the Overlook Hotel. And the things that happen to this family while they're staying there, creepy, and just kind of, I don't know, creeps you out, keeps you in suspense, and just wonderfully flawed characters is about all I can say. The funny thing is, this time around, I went ahead and listened to it on audiobook since I have read it 2 times before. And, you know, I'm just not really into audiobooks, but it did help me get through this book so that I could finish all the prompts in this readathon. But if you like Stephen King and you haven't picked up The Shining, I would recommend it. It would be wonderful even during the months of January and February if you are in a place that's really cold. The next book I read was a YA selection, and it was to fulfill the prompt of A Christmas Carol, which would be about a ghost or a haunting. So I went ahead and I chose a book that is an actual retelling of A Christmas Carol, and that is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is the first time I've read anything by Cynthia Hand, but I have to tell you, I really enjoyed this. It is about a young girl, Holly, who is very spoiled and very wealthy, and she changed a lot after a situation that happens to her early on, and she's visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and she's given the opportunity to change her ways. If not, she's gonna die, and guess what? She's not gonna have a happy ending in her eternal life, because guess what? She chooses not to do what she's supposed to, and she ends up having to go work for the group that puts on the Christmas ghosts of past, present, and future. However, this is a story of redemption, and it's just wonderfully told, and you are rooting for Holly every step of the way. So if you like YA, you like retellings about classics, I would recommend The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. For the prompt of Santa's Little Helper, which was for you to read a middle grade book, I chose Dead Voices by Catherine Arden. This is the sequel to Small Spaces, and it was fantastic. I loved it. It is about 3 children, Ollie, Brian, and Coco, who join Ollie's dad and Coco's mom for a weekend over the holiday to go skiing on Mount Hemlock, and they get to stay in this lodge. I believe the dad wins like some kind of a prize for doing something with his job. Anyway, they get to the lodge, everything seems wonderful, they're excited about going skiing, and then they encounter some strange activity in the lodge. Well, it only gets weirder. because a mysterious stranger named Mr. Volan shows up, and the weird gets weirder. But wonderful little adventure. Loved it so very much. Can't wait to read the other 2 books in Catherine Arden's quartet. My last 5-star read, and also the read that I used to fulfill the prompt of Reindeer Ride, which was for you to read a book that had been translated or written by a non-US author. I chose a short story from the collection of Murder for Christmas. And I chose the story, The Adventures of the Blue Carbuncle by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And it was awesome. I don't think you can really go wrong with Sherlock Holmes. He is a wonderful detective who has very odd methods for solving mysteries, but enjoyable all the same. He comes into possession of a dead goose and a tattered hat. And he discovers, well rather his cook discovers, a blue carbuncle, which is a gem, inside the goose. Well, guess what? That's a mystery. And he's all about solving the mystery. He needs to find who was the owner of the tattered hat and the uncooked goose. But I really, really enjoyed it. It makes me want to read some more Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, that is my December wrap-up for the Christmas Evil Readathon. I enjoyed everything that I read for this readathon and enjoyed all of the activities I participated in. I'm getting super excited about the new year. I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break. I only have 3 books that I want to read in the month of January, but already I've been seeing all kinds of wonderful videos on BookTube recently that before you know it, I will be joining some readathons within the next few weeks. I just see it coming. But I really, really enjoyed this readathon. I'm glad it was at the end of the year. It made the season really special, and looking forward to doing some more fabulous reading in the future. In the meantime, stay amazing and be adventurous.